Okay, so welcome along to another Pixiecast, number 16 or 17. I'm losing track now. I've done so many, and I am back in the States, right up in the north of the country, bordering Canada, and talking to a friend of mine, a man who I was lucky to meet year before last, last year it was actually, wasn't it? I've lost track of time. For Adele's wedding. It is, of course, Mr. Kurt Carlson. Kurt, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Andrew?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. It's good to see you again. And
Yeah,
how's life
nice to see
treating
you.
you?
Everything's going pretty good. It's
Yeah.
work is busy. Kids just started school.
Uh-huh.
Other than that, that's pretty much it.
Has lockdown affected your work very much? What is it that you do for a living?
Well, I do real estate appraising, so I
Right.
give the values of the homes, and it's been busier than it's ever been.
Oh,
Like
wow.
in, I can't keep up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's so busy. It's which is a good problem to have, but it's also kind of a major stressor right now. So, um, yeah, I was surprised. I had no idea what the COVID was going to do to the market, and
Hmm.
it's just blowing up around here. So
Yeah, they
I'm in
they say.
demand.
Sorry, carry on.
I'm in demand.
You're in demand. There you go. That's a good thing to be. They say though, don't they, that COVID is sort of giving people a time to reflect on their lives and what they want to be doing with it and things like that. And as a result, a lot of people have decided to put their houses on the market.
Yeah, it seems like it, and I don't know. I almost think that with so many people working from home now, and so many of those people that have worked from home have been told for years that you can't work from home,
Yeah.
and now they're discovering that they can. So I think like my area that's very sparsely populated and whatnot, but it's yet a couple hours from some major city hubs. Yeah, I could see people leaving the big cities where everything's so expensive to come out here where prices are so low and everything, and
Sure.
work remotely, and if they have to drive in a couple hours to the office they can do that. And
Hmm.
so it's just like a kind of an optimum little market here where I am right now.
So tell us geographically about where you are then in Minnesota, I know. But
Well, Minnesota's a northern state in the center of the US, and I'm in the very southeastern corner. So i
okay.
uh I literally border Iowa and Wisconsin. So I'm like 12 minutes from Wisconsin and 15 minutes from Iowa.
Okay. So you literally are on the borders and yeah.
It's a very rural area. It's very lots of farmlands. It's pretty flat. Lakes and rivers, or
Hmm.
mostly rivers, um, and then there's some areas that have some nice bluffs and whatnot. But it's the more boring part of the state, I think. Southeastern and southwestern Minnesota are kind of have that reputation.
So how far is it to the Great Lakes then?
Lake Superior and Duluth would be about a 4.5 hour drive.
Sure. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
and that's beautiful. It's, because it's pretty boring drive all the way up. And then once you like cross over, you come over a hill and then you see the lake and everything. And
Wow.
it's just gorgeous. Duluth's
Yeah.
a beautiful. I
Uh-huh.
haven't been there enough. That's a very fun place to go.
Sure. And you've lived in Minnesota all your life? Is that where you're born and bred?
Pretty much, yeah. I was born in the Twin Cities, which is about 2.5 hours from here. I've lived in Wisconsin and Minnesota, and I did spend a year in Utah as a grad student.
Hmm.
Um, but otherwise, yeah, I've been in this area.
For pretty much all your life.
Yeah.
Cool. So Pixies then, where did it all begin for you?
Oh, well, like in so late 80s, I graduated 91, so I'd be, freshman, sophomore. My musical thing was like rap at that time.
Okay.
And it was like, like right now, Tupac and Biggie are like new school to me, so I'm like, old school when it comes to rap.
Right. Okay.
And the other option at the time was hair metal. And I hated that. I didn't like the Motley Crue and the Rat and all that. And like
Okay.
all my friends were into that.
Right.
And it was just, I don't know. It was just, to me, it was just such a boring and fake genre. It was just, yeah. So, um,
I hadn't heard that expression before, hair metal.
Hair metal, yeah, that's what they call it here a lot. So it's
I know,
um,
I can imagine what you mean there.
right, right. And so then, later on, um, like a lot of people, I just kind of heard somebody had a tape of it, and I listened, and that sparked my interest, but I don't think I really like dove in until would have been Bossa Nova era, because it would have been the Allison video, and Dig for Fire, the
Yeah.
combined video, where
Okay.
I actually got to see them, because before, when I just listened to the tapes, I just
Yeah.
listened, oh, this is cool. They're, talking about UFOs and things I'm
Yeah.
interested in.
Uh-huh.
And I think it was when I actually saw them that it was like, oh wow, this is like, they're normal. They're normal looking, where everybody else is doing all this big theatrical tight
Yeah.
leather pants and hair and all that stuff. And these guys look like they, could be in the dorm next to me. And um, so I think that was a major, that, and, the lyrics, the, like, with the hair metal stuff, it's all
Sure.
about going to the party and, getting the girl and,
Yeah.
rocking all night long,
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, you get so much of that and you're kind of sick of it. And
Not very abstract, is it?
right. So it was neat hearing, it's like, hey, wait a minute, that's referencing the Bible, that's a UFO thing, and it's like, putting all that stuff together was fun. And, and it's still a challenge, because, we all on the site will try to decipher lyrics and,
Yeah.
not only what he's saying, but literally what he's saying, but also, what does he mean when he's saying that? And it's, that's always a fun, that used to be my, oops, I'm getting something here. That used to be my fun, it would have been after the Pixies, like the solo stuff. Whenever a new album would come out, I would get the CD, and if it had the lyrics, I'd follow along. And I'd have a dictionary and a thesaurus next to me, just so I could, pause the CD so I could look up this word, what thalassocracy, what the hell is it, and so.
Does that actually mean anything? I've never looked it up. Is it a proper word?
Well, it has something to do with sea ruling, like rule,
Okay.
like yeah. So that one took me a long time, and it's like, oh, it's about dolphins. It's like, it's just.
Yeah, certainly makes you think about the lyrics rather than, like you say, hair metal.
Right. You're going to
So
be using that all the time now, aren't you?
I will be, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can just sort of picture the kind of groups that you're referring to. So, yeah.
Right.
So, and you've been a fan ever since?
Yeah. I've been a big fan, all the way through. Never got to see them perform pre-break.
Okay.
I had an opportunity to go see them open for U2. Not a big U2 fan, and I was a college kid at the time, so paying U2 prices to see the opening band, and plus it
Sure.
was 3 hours away, and so I just, I'll see them next time they come along, and then I guess I did, but it was many years later.
Mm-hmm. So where do you have to go to then if you want to see a band where you are? Because it sounds sort of quite remote where you are.
Yeah, well, so I was brought up in the Twin Cities, and that had everything. And then I went to college, La Crosse, Wisconsin, which is about 12 minutes from where I live now. And if I like the bands I like to see, I either have to go to Madison, Wisconsin, or Minneapolis, and they're both about a 2.5 hour drive. So
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Not too
not bad. La Crosse is starting to get some better artists come through, or were, but who knows if those venues are going to be able to hold up now
Sure.
after COVID.
Yeah. So a favorite Pixies track out of all of them?
I always got to go with Tame. That's
Tame.
always been
You like the
my
shouty
favorite.
ones?
Yeah, and it's and everyone, will have debates online, like, what song to introduce somebody new to the Pixies, and just start them out with Tame, just hit them with that, even though the directions changed and everything since then and whatnot, but that's still and that's always been, like, anytime I've never had like a good sound system, and like when I'd go to a friend's house or someone's dorm that had, like, the speakers to the wall, I'd be, oh, we got to play this song, and so that was always the one that I would just just blast whenever I could have it on.
And what did your mates take to? Did they take to Pixies?
Somewhat. I mean, it was like my college roommates were more into like the Grateful Dead and Fish, and
Oh,
the
Fish again. I know who Fish are now.
yeah, and, stuff you could just sit around and get stoned to all day and whatnot. And um, so it was always Kurt's weird music, and but that was like more accepted than like Dead Milkman, Dead Ken, stuff like that I
Yeah.
would
Okay.
listen to, so
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
were like they were my more normal weird music or whatever that my friends would judge.
I hadn't heard of Fish until the other day when Kristen Whitaker mentioned them, and I just nodded politely as if I knew who they were, but I had no idea.
Yeah,
To
there's
me,
one
Fish
song I
is
remember, some Red
yeah.
Ball song or something that goes on for, it's a jams, and it's like,
To me, Fish is the lead singer of an old English band, British band called Marillion. I don't know if you've heard of them. He was the lead singer, but
nope,
they probably didn't make it to the States. They weren't very good.
never.
So Tame is your favorite then, and
Yeah.
favorite Pixies album?
Yeah, I get, it's always tough, but I always have to lean Doolittle. I think just,
Yeah.
all the way through, it's just such a good listen and such a, um, I mean, yeah, I can make a case for all of them, but I think Doolittle probably has the most number of songs that I'm going to want them to play if they're, if I go see a gig.
Yeah,
so
sure. I'd agree with that, definitely. Certainly my favorite album by them. So,
yeah,
and you've got your T-shirt on today. Is that
I do.
one of many?
Yes, I got several. Typically that's what I do when my new clothes are concert t-shirts or band t-shirts and stuff. I haven't really gone shopping for any dapper executive wear or anything lately, so it's concert t-shirts.
So even when you're meeting clients and things like that, then it's a Pixies
I know.
T-shirt, is it?
I guess I wear the just a plain button down when I go.
I remember
To
you
people
looking very
houses.
dapper when you came over and on going to Adele's wedding. I thought you looked very smart that day.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Well, it was at a ranch, their type of setting, so I got kind of like I wore some kind of Western wear from the United States. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was looking for a cowboy hat, but I couldn't find one. I got a huge head, so they didn't have any that would fit me around here. So.
Okay. No, you struggle to find one in this country, certainly. So first Pixies concert then. Do you remember where and when?
Well, so like when they rebanded, their first performance was in Minneapolis.
Oh wow.
At the Fine Line, and it's a tiny venue, bar basically, which sold out, and they had secondary tickets for like $500-700 or something like that, and at that even now, I just couldn't swing that.
Big money.
So
Yeah.
so it would have been boy, I'm bad with years. Would that have been about 2008 or 9? Whatever tour they did, where they did where you could purchase live recordings right after of that show.
Yeah.
So that was the first time I saw them as a band. I'd seen Charles several times solo, but yeah, and that was the full Kim band too. So it was and that was in St. Paul. So yeah, I gotta think it was around 2008, 2009. So it was kind of their first big tour after after coming back together.
So St. Paul, that's the state capital, isn't it, of Minnesota? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And how many times have you seen them play now then to date?
I have seen 7, I believe.
Okay.
And the last 2 being the Weezer co-headlining or opening, however you want to put it, which was fun. That was the Nashville. I saw them in Nashville, and then I saw them in the Twin Cities with the Weezer thing, and that wasn't great. It was a big venue. It wasn't like a Pixies venue, and the crowd, you could tell it was a Weezer crowd. I mean, they put on a great show. They got a great reception at the end, but it was just kind of dead during the performance. And yeah, that was, I don't want to say disappointing. It was great to see them, but it would have been nicer to
Yeah,
have
but you
seen.
want everyone else to be enjoying it as well, though, don't you? Really? So
Right.
yeah,
Right. Or to be in a more appropriate venue, a smaller place that, you get more of that personal
yeah,
feel and whatnot.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So so you said that before you saw Pixies, you saw Frank Black. So you're obviously into his solo work.
Yeah, I'm actually probably one of those people that might like the Catholics and some of the solo stuff as much or even better than
Okay.
Pixies.
Yeah,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah. So how many times did you see him live then when he was just doing his solo stuff?
Uh, Probably about 10 times.
Oh wow.
The
Okay.
very first time I saw was when he opened just acoustic for They Might Be Giants.
Right.
And he probably only did like 6, 7 songs, and that was like I remember he did Duke of Earl. That was
Yeah.
a cool cover to hear him do. So that would have been right around the time that the Frank Black solo album was coming out. So um, and I always wanted to see They Might Be Giants. They've always been a band of mine too. But
Yeah, yeah.
definitely went to see Frank. Um, yeah, and then I saw a number of times at nice small clubs. Um,
So was he
Solo
playing
stuff.
more locally to you then when he was solo?
He did one show in Lacrosse, and I remember that vividly. So that would have been '98 or so. It would have been the Frank Black and the Catholics album debut.
Yeah.
So I had just moved back from Utah. I did a year of grad school in Utah, and then I moved back to the Lacrosse area.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this club that has maybe 120 people in there. Uh, had him play, and it was Reed Paley opened, and I remember because it was a Monday night, and it was a Monday night where there was a Packer Viking game, which is
Right.
big here,
Yeah, yeah,
football
yeah,
and
yeah.
Packers and Vikings, and that's when Minnesota had the star player Randy Moss, who was and he was a rookie that year, and he was setting all these records on that Monday night game. Like he had, so many catches and touchdowns. The Vikings were blowing the Packers away, which is a good thing for me.
Yeah.
And but so so I'm watching it at a bar before the concert, and then I go to the concert across the street, and people are still watching the game while Reed's playing. And I remember he interrupted his set to tell everybody to shut those fucking TVs off. And all that.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was like I said, a really tiny club. I was like right up in the front. Ear
Yeah.
damage, I imagine. It was loud, and it was just great.
Uh-huh. So in terms of a favorite Frank Black solo career track, have you got one?
That whole album, the Frank Black and the Catholics self-titled one, I mean, that came out at a really weird time in my life. So it was, I just moved back from Utah. I was doing grad school. I didn't want to be a broke college kid anymore, so I figured I could come and find a job with my philosophy degree, and that didn't really pan out. So so now I'm a broke non-college student,
Yeah.
and I rent a room in this guy's house who's like a hoarder. So like there's like no room anywhere.
Okay.
The other rooms are like they're drug at. It was just a terrible.
Nice.
The guy was like a sheep farmer, and
Okay. Yeah.
so there's sheep stuff, and it was just. So anyway, that album was like the only thing that I had that I could like look forward to,
Yeah.
So I'd
Yeah,
go
yeah.
back to my little room and I'd just listen to that over and over and over again. I'd say on that album, the probably "Suffering" would be my favorite
Okay.
song. I mean, it's just such a really kind of a angsty breakup type song, and just that whole album just rocks really, and it was just, I think that was probably my favorite on that one.
Okay.
And the Larry Norman cover 666 was great too.
Mm-hmm. I think
I enjoyed that one a lot.
Suffering's been chosen. Pete Norris actually chose that as well. So yeah, so that gets a second choice then. So that's Suffering.
I knew he was a good lad.
Yeah, he's got pretty good taste. Apart from Blur, but we won't get into that. But, no, and so happenings and meeting up with people, friends off the Facebook group? Have you been able to do quite a bit of that? Obviously, apart from coming over to the UK, which we'll talk about in a little while, but happenings in the States.
Yeah, I did. Well, before I went to the Nashville happening. I didn't go to the Vegas happening. I wanted to, but I don't know. I was in a weird spot, and I was like, so I didn't do that.
So how far is Nashville from you then? My geography of the US is pretty poor.
I couldn't even guess how long it would take to drive. I mean, it's 4-hour flight, so it's not terrible.
So but you're having to drive somewhere to an airport. Have you got an interstate airport near you?
Yeah, there's one in La Crosse, but it's a lot cheaper if you go out of Chicago or Minneapolis. And I still have people in Minneapolis, so they can, I can park at their houses. And but prior to those happenings, I did meet up like Kelly Loney and Libby and Ben Grimser. We all met up at a concert before that, so it was just a little mini thing. We just met at a bar beforehand, and another Todd Rapp. He's also on the site. He's not too active, but he's been like a friend of mine forever, and we go to shows together and whatnot. So so that was fun. And then Nashville. Then I decided to just do that, and that was a blast. It was I had never been to Nashville, and I always I am kind of a old school country fan and whatnot too. So which I think is a big part of being a Pixie fan is like my folks were into old classic Waylon and Willie type music.
Right.
My brother's 10 years older than me, and he was big into surf music. And then my sister's like 4 years older than she was more into pop, like Prince and stuff like that. So I think if you combine the Waylon and Willie country with the surf music with a little bit of pop, I think that's what makes a Pixie fan.
Because of course Prince was Minneapolis, wasn't he?
Yes, and I never got to see him. That was a huge regret. Yeah,
I'm sure. So you've traveled all over the States then to see Pixies and to meet up with like-minded friends.
Yes.
And
I did the Nashville, and then I also did a little tour. I didn't do Vegas, but I did. I met like when I went to California, I met up with some people in California. One time I went to Arizona. My mom lives there, and I met up with JR and Michelle and Kitty, and we went to a Dead Milkman concert. So that was, that was fun. That was the first time I met Kitty at Nashville, but JR and Michelle, it was my first time meeting them. And then then I decided to do the UK.
The UK. So tell us all about that then. You got on a plane and you came over with. I think, did Meg actually travel with you, or you met up with Meg?
We met up. I got there like a day and a half earlier, so I got to sleep from the jet lag, and so then Meg came in like a day or two later, and then Adele, what a honey, comes and picks us up, a day before her wedding, and she's got enough to do, but come and drive us back to her place so we could stay, and then go to the venue the next day.
Yeah, and we came and met you in a pub, didn't we, after our drive up from our home?
Yes. Yeah.
Met you and Meg in a pub, in a traditional English pub.
Right. Yeah, we almost died on the way there because it was like these winding roads, and it was like roads, so we'd have to hear. And it was like rainy and stuff, so we'd have to listen. You could hear a car coming, and it was funny.
But you enjoyed.
You guys drove us around a little, a lot there. So.
It was our pleasure to be able to help you out. So, so what did you think your first visit to England then?
Oh, I loved it. It was, the history, just the scenery too, and it was so neat driving from Adele's up. Where exactly is the wedding was like northeastern?
Yeah,
correct?
So Adele is in a county called Suffolk, which is about 30 miles north of London, and then her wedding was in Norfolk, which is directly north of Suffolk. So
even just driving from like Adele's up to the wedding, it was like driving through Minnesota, because you had rural area for a while, and then you had like the pine tree forest area, which is northern Minnesota. So it was really neat. It reminded me of Minnesota in that way.
And you got to see a bit of London as well.
Yeah, yeah. I was only there 7, 8 days, so it would have been nice to next time. I'd certainly like to do a couple weeks and
Yeah.
check out like Scotland and Ireland, and
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of areas in Europe I'd like to do. But if I come back to that area, I'd certainly like to hit the northwestern side of things.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you can get up to see people like Joe Kirkham and Jules Crowley and up in the northwest of England. So
yeah. I was surprised. The two things that surprised me in London was, first of all, how many people smoke.
Okay. Yeah.
And which is fine. I mean, a lot of people smoke here too, but then I'm 6'1" or so, and I swear to God, I didn't see anybody taller than me in London. And it got to the point where I'm like thinking about it. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna look for somebody taller than me, when I'm walking around Piccadilly Square or whatever. And I couldn't find anybody. The basketball teams must have been out of town that week or something.
We're not really big on basketball over here, though.
Yeah.
And the teams that do play, they generally import all you Americans anyway. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe that's the thing. I don't know. I mean, I'm a short ass anyway, as you know. So anyone's taller than me, so. Apart from Jordan. So.
But yeah, it was beautiful. I loved it. I was happy to be able to go. Again, that was my first time over anywhere, outside of, I've been Canada and Mexico and whatever. But so yeah, that was really eye-opening and fun.
So that was August last year, and then of course the album came out sort of autumn, fall.
Yeah,
last year.
A year ago, yeah.
Beneath the Ear, yeah, pretty much a year ago that they were touring in the UK. So did you get to see them on that tour?
No, they did they do some East Coast? They might have done just a handful of East Coast ones.
Right.
And then they were also doing, well, there was some shows for like what was it, the 30-year
the Surfer Rosa.
Yeah. And I wasn't able to make those. Those are all out east. So yeah, there wasn't anything, in the central US. So I'll have to wait.
So is it expensive then for you to sort of fly internally? So you said that you flew down to Nashville and places like that. Is that expensive for you guys under normal circumstances?
Not always. I mean, there's always good flight deal. The flights change every hour, the prices. So it's you just kind of, and then I've always been one of those that has a credit card that gets me air mileage and stuff. So I put all my, daily expenses on that and stuff. So I typically can, get a flight a year or something like that. But I mean, like Vegas, they have super cheap flights, and some areas have just incredibly low rates. But then you go, smaller airports, and they tend to increase in price.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's move on then to the Catholics. And you said that you're a big fan of their stuff as well, possibly because of your sort of country upbringing from childhood and that. So, tell me about the Catholics' work.
Yeah, I just fell in love with that. Like, after the Pixies split, I followed, I was anxious about every Frank Black release, and, religiously went the day the albums came out and bought them. And, like I said, I'd have my little ritual where I'd sit and try to decipher the lyrics with a thesaurus and a dictionary by my side. And, so, I've always been, and I don't know, that just seemed to hit. It just seemed to really, I don't know what it was. Yeah. I mean, the Pixies, that obviously hit me too, but it was neat because it was like, okay, I've accepted he's not going to be doing Pixie sound anymore, what those albums were, and he's doing this, and I really like this. So it was, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I would love to see the Frank Black and the Catholics reunion tour.
So you saw them play as well, you said?
Yeah, probably 8, 9, 10 times.
Oh, okay.
And I got to see a couple of them where Dave was opening as the magician, so he would do like a little magic show on stage, and
Wow. Okay.
and that was fun. And but yeah, so.
But he
And
wasn't drumming for them, though, was he?
no, he wasn't drumming. He would just do, he was just like an opener, except it
Okay.
would be a little magic show, and that was that was awesome.
Wow.
That was
Brilliant.
fun, and he would hang out after and sign things and talk and
Yeah.
everything, and yeah, that was wonderful.
Excellent. And so, Paz, Kim Deal, that question probably shouldn't ask, really. Always divides opinion.
When it comes down to it, album by album, I like the ones with Kim better,
Yeah.
but I love the new stuff too.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, she's an incredible musician and everything. And she's brought this energy and kept the band going. Who knows if they would have just done some albums or done whatever, without having this new permanent member that's, so energetic and so, engaging and everything. So she's, from the outside, she seems to have really kind of, breathed a little bit of spark or fun in the band, So and like I remember seeing the Catholics and like when Dave was doing the music opening and talking with other fans there, and they're like, well, so do you ever think the Pixies are going to reform? And everyone's like, no, probably not. And then they're like, well, what would it be for the Pixies to still be the Pixies? And I said, well, it's got to be Charles and Joey for sure, and then plus one, and not not taking anything away from Dave or but it's like I think they could still be the Pixies if they got Joey and Charles, and then one of the other pieces, and it just worked out that Paz is such a a wonderful musician and had so much to the band and
absolutely
has kept the train going, definitely. So
yeah, I forgot to ask you for a favorite Catholics track. So are you able to give me one of those?
Well, Suffering was that was Frank Black and the Catholics. So maybe I didn't do a solo.
A solo one then.
Well, let's see. Oh, I gotta think now. Show Me Your Tears. That was a Catholics album, wasn't it? I believe so. So we'd probably go to Teenager of the Year, and oh man, there's so many on that. I just love Thalassocracy. That's just such a neat song, and after learning that it was about a dolphin, it was like it just kind of made sense to me. So
I've got to try
that whole album is just that whole album is great.
Yeah. Okay.
And I love the Goofy album cover too. Just playing with that Teenager of the Year thing, and
no, it's good.
That's fun.
Yeah. We won't talk about the Cult of Ray cover. So
what's that?
I said we won't talk about the Cult of Ray cover. I have a bit of an issue with it.
Yeah, I mean that whole album I like, but it's probably one of my least favorite of his whole library. The Last Stand of Shahzad, I believe, that's a great song, and Kicked in the Taco, I love, a lot of those, but I don't know, something about that has just got a different feel that, still like it, but it's, toward the bottom of my list of the library.
Okay, well, we've come to the last question, and I don't know if you've heard this question that I've been asking people from time to time. It came from Joe Kirkham up there in Liverpool, and it is, you're having one of those awful dreams where suddenly you've been put on stage naked in front of a huge crowd and they are all waiting for you to sing a song. Which Pixies song are you going to sing?
Well, let's see. If I'm up there naked, I'm already going to be just humiliating myself. So I might as well just make it as bad of a experience for everybody and do Bam Flock.
Bam Flock, brilliant.
Yes.
Go out in style.
Right, right. Just make it. Everybody already hates me just by seeing me up there naked. They might as well just, continue that with the song. So,
Kurt, thank you so much for your time. You've been a great sport. Really good to catch
thank
up
you,
with
Andrew.
you.
Yes, it was nice to talk to you again. I hope to see you again here in the next whenever travel's possible again and whatnot.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah, we hope to catch up with you again soon. All right, mate.
all right.
You take
All
care.
right. Thank you.
All the best. Cheers.
Bye.